Cool. Do you need any support in that application, or do you have everything you need?
It'll come to council for approval and the mayor's the signatory, so you guys will have to accept the money if it's free.
Is that the program?
Would that be
Ours
like
was not
safety
either.
finance?
Okay. Okay.
What was that?
Come through legislation, safety finance, where we expect to see it, I guess. or-
Yeah, I mean,
I believe that's just a resolution to go through.
yeah, so it would
It's
come.
just a resolution to say that, yes, we will accept money from
Okay.
the government.
We will always accept free money.
Yes.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Chief? Okay. And we now will move to Fiscal Officer Jeffrey Wilczek.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of council. I was actually hoping to have a May financial report for you tonight, but we're still trying to decipher a few things that have occurred with the pool and memberships, donations, and concessions. So we will hopefully get that ironed out on Monday. And I will email a May report to all of you when it's done, hopefully next week. Okay? Tonight, there's three pieces of legislation coming from fiscal office. The first one establishes an investment policy for the village. Basically, it allows us to invest in U.S. government securities, both treasury securities and agency securities, securities from the state of Ohio, and or a few other securities. The investment policy itself is in line with state statute that dictates what we can do. And I have reviewed that policy and the ordinance with Jesse. I am going to ask council to suspend the rules and pass it tonight so that we can take advantage of the higher interest rates. And to give you an example of what that means, our CDs that we have right now are 0.25% or less as far as the interest rate on it. Star Ohio for the month of May just moved up to 0.79%. It's all less than 1%. Today, U.S. Treasury securities, a 2-year security, is yielding 2.81%. So that's a big difference. Keep in mind that we have bond proceeds to invest. Any interest earned off the bond proceeds goes back to the construction fund and is to be spent on the projects. Okay? So, again, I'm going to ask that you consider passing that tonight so we can take advantage of the interest rates that are out there. There's also a supplemental appropriation on the agenda for tonight. There's a few things in it. Primarily, council asked for appropriations to acquire some things for the pool. I believe loungers and chairs, for the most part. There's a couple other items in there, and it's a little bit of cleanup that I've been catching as I go through the appropriation status report. One of them is some fees that we've incurred with EMS collections that are still trickling in. There was also the allocation of the general property and liability insurance was not in line with what was already appropriated, so we need to fix that one. And there's a debt service payment due for a water line project, I believe it's phase 3, that basically what happened there is back when COVID started, the state of Ohio, OPWC, suspended a 6-month payment and pushed it back to the end of the loan. We're at the end of the loan, so this year we have 2 payments due instead of the one that's originally on the amortization schedule. So that's part of the reason why I'm catching up with the debt service and taking care of that for us. Also with that ordinance, it has a section 2 in it, which you may not have seen before. The last ordinance that established appropriations relating to the bond proceeds that came in, the issuance cost, I had the appropriation in the wrong category, so I have to transfer it over to the correct category. That's addressed in section 2 of that ordinance. Last item is a resolution that enables me to obtain advances on the property taxes and the TIF payments as they are collected from the county. It's better off in our treasury than in the county's treasury because we won't get any interest if it stays there. And final settlement is 6 to 8 weeks out yet. we will start getting the advances in another week or so. And this is a very common occurrence with all local governments throughout the state of Ohio. This just enables me to start getting those advances. Okay? That concludes my report.
All right, does anybody have any questions for finance? We can work on setting up a meeting at the end of this. Mike Flickinger's engineers report. Task order number 14, which is the Westerville City School District Minerva Park School Plan Review. We participated in pre-construction meeting for the project on 5/25. Our involvement during the construction will generally include coordinating with the school district's design professional on the contractor's documentation, confirming the design professional is enforcing the project's contract documents. On-site inspection and similar will be provided by the school district's design professional. Task order number 18 is the 2021 Storm Sewer Improvement Project. This is also known as the East Shore Court Project for those paying attention. We participated in a meeting on site with the coordinator on 5/26. The coordinating contractor's egress plan, material, storage, and other site-specific items. They participated in a meeting on site with the residents on 5/29, reviewing the project and projected goals. The contractor intended to mobilize on the site around May 31st, that did happen. And according to the contractor's current schedule, the project should take about 1 month to complete, weather pending. This project is currently going on, and I just beg of people to stay out of the contractor's way. I don't know how else to say that, but these contractors are trying to get work done. Please, if you see contractors in the village, let them work. Task order number 20 is the 2022 Storm Sewer Improvement Project. We are preparing alternate memos for the village, which will include 2 viable options, with options of probable construction costs for each to address the storm sewer concerns considered in this project. They are hoping to get this information to us this week. Task order number 22, which is the 2022 CCTV inspection analysis. They intend to continue to coordinate with Flowline on the storm sewer pricing, as it was considerably higher than planned. And also we are hoping to get that information as soon as possible. I think that is everything for right now, and then I'll go in the mayor's report and give a little more detail on some of these. So let's move to Jesse, our legal counsel.
Thank you, Mayor. We are continuing to work through the zoning code. We made significant progress through chapters 12 and 14 of the code. I just need to go back now and sort of combine everything and bring a few options to P&Z for discussion points. I've been working with Mike and Eric on the Jordan Road Yasmin Market issue. We had a meeting. I think made some good progress. I think we'll have an update by the next meeting again for you. That was all I had. The only thing I had emailed Councilman Bruger on the third reading tonight on the vacation. I just wanted to remind everyone we need to amend that to say right of way instead of an easement. I accidentally wrote easement in there, so we'll just amend that. Whether or not we table it or don't vote on it, whatever, what have you, let's just amend it first and be done with that. And that's all I had. Any other questions? Happy to take.
Anybody? Village planner, Mr. Eric Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Obviously, for the variance tonight, so we've been busy with that last couple meetings for P&Z and for staff. Always happy to see another house get built at this busy time, so looking forward to that. Just to re-announce for the public, the Farview widening, which is taking place now, is planned to go through the end of July. So they're going to work, they keep it open, they're working inside to outside, so that way they don't have to close down the whole road at any point in time, which is good, and it's open for full traffic after working hours. Also, we had our second pre-bid conference with our architects this past Wednesday. I will happy to say it was a well-attended pre-bid conference, lots of subs who are cross-bidding with multiple GCs, so we expect to have several different bids come in another couple of weeks. So yes, fingers crossed. And that is all I have unless someone has any other questions. Yeah.
Are they planning to replace that fence that they took down? Do you know?
Defense for
The fence along Farview.
The white fence or the picket?
The black fence that
I
is,
think per plan, they're supposed to put the fencing back.
okay.
I mean, I'll double check that.
Today was the first time I've driven down that road and
Yeah.
I noticed it was gone, so.
Yeah, I think the
Okay.
plan is to put it back on, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
Split rail fence?
Yeah, yeah, like we have in the rest of the village, yeah, okay.
Okay. And next, does anybody have any questions on the zoning officer's report? If anybody does, everybody's got his email. If you don't, send me an email and I would be more than happy to forward it to him. Next would be Brian Wolf for planning and zoning.
I think village council and the village planner have already spoken to everything that's going on in planning and zoning, so in the interest of time and efficiency, that's no more to report.
Okay. And now? MPCA report.
So they just had their meeting last night. My apologies, I was looking for that date and I could not find it, so that is my apologies. 18th, they have, the wine and cheese, or their sip and dip, they renamed it. The first annual Minerva Park Pride is June 25th, and I know that so many people are excited about that, I know I am. The 26th is the Minerva Flora Garden Tour. Right now, they are really kind of concentrating on their membership drives, more summer events. I know August 13th, they have another movie night planned, so they're doing a lot. I mean, they got a lot of people working hard for you, and yeah, I'm excited for their events.
Awesome. And Arts in the Park was amazing.
Right.
It was a great
Absolutely.
turnout. It was a great turnout. Okay, let's move to committee reports and communications.
So we started our email testing, we got this trial of our email alert system. And the same week that we did that, that is when Breezeline kind of came in. So we learned quick that we're going to adjust and we're gonna run with things and figure issues out. So we're still testing that. We wanna take advantage, make sure that we are doing everything that the software can do. We've been busy with Diversity Week and helping the community committee, and it's been absolutely amazing. We're getting some really good feedback on that. Chatting with council is happening on the 16th, informal, and what we're gonna do is it's kind of like meet your council, this first one. So each council person will, introduce themselves, talk about what committee that they chair, what they're passionate about, what they want to see, happen. And then after everybody speaks and introduces themselves, then we will have like an open Q&A to where everybody can walk around and speak with whomever. That way everybody gets a chance to talk. So I'm excited for that as well.
And that will be here and or outside if weather permitting?
I would love it to be outside.
Okay, that would be good. Okay, but it will be here, worst case scenario.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody have any questions for communications? Council President Wolf, Finance.
Yep, Finance Committee hasn't met in the last couple of months after we got through all of the arranging of the TIF increment financing. However, our next item will be the tax budget, which the date to approve that is ever looming. So we will be getting together with fiscal officer, Mr. Wilczek, to schedule a Finance Committee meeting soon.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for President Wolf?
I think just a very brief one for President Wolf and possibly our financial officer, Mr. Wilczek. If we do go forward with the emergency legislation of allowing these, I guess you'd say municipal investments in bonds or securities, would that require anything to be rapidly moved around or otherwise adjusted or reallocated to keep all of our investments or obligations able to be paid in a, I guess you'd say, safe or effective manner? Like, would that be would anything else need to come with that, I guess?
So I think here, I can try to see if I can parse that out.
I'm
So
sorry.
the question is, in the approval of this new investment strategy, is there any money moving that would be necessary that would inhibit our ability to operate the village?
For our, current obligations.
No, there is not. That will not happen.
I wouldn't have imagined so, I just wanted to.
We will be looking at how we're gonna structure this so that we have proper cash flow that we need to, one, meet any bills that come due with the projects, you know, to be financed by the debt proceeds. And we're also gonna look at the other side, the primary main treasury, to see what we can do to invest there a little bit more. Because I watch the cash flow to make sure we cover ourselves, so we'll take care of it that way. And I guess one other side is with that, any securities that we acquire or invest in will be held by a third party, and that will be US Bank.
I'm very confident that that kind of stuff was being accounted for, I just wanted to get it out there.
All right.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, let's move over to councilperson costs for streets.
We're working on scheduling a meeting just so we can plan for leaf removal soon. I was thinking maybe somewhere close to the date if it doesn't interfere with anything about with the storm sewer completion, so we can kind of talk about what our next steps would be. So we can combine those meetings and get with Mike, who's currently on vacation, I believe.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Perfect.
Any
Anybody have any questions? Oh boy. Councilperson Camera, community.
Wow, okay, what an introduction. Thank you. Yeah, busy 2 weeks for community committee. The pool opened up Memorial Day weekend. We had a good turnout, especially Memorial Day. All the chairs were taken, all the lawn chairs, all the loungers were taken, so that's a good sign. I think we only had a few issues this week because we had to close for weather, but other than that, the pool's done well. We started concessions. That was a big hit among the residents that were polled at the pool, and so we have decided to continue that. And have requested some funds to kind of do some improvements down at the pool. Diversity Week started this week as well. So thank you all for everyone who has put their handprint on our banner back here. Once the week is over, or when we've determined we're done with the handprints, we'll display it here in the community building so that everyone can see what we've done. But it's coming along very nicely. Big thanks to Councilperson Shrestha for the videos. They've been amazing, and I've heard very good comments about those, so thank you. And to my other committee member, Councilperson McNamara, thank you for your help as well. I think we've done a lot in the last couple weeks, so yeah, I'm not sure what's coming up after this week, so right now I just got to get through this week, and then we'll figure out what's next on the agenda for the community committee. That's all I have.
Awesome. We'll get you numbers to help out so we know where we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
and get some of the other stuff done this weekend. So,
Perfect.
the weather's not gonna be as great, so I don't think it's gonna be as busy, which will give us time to catch up,
Mm-hmm.
so. But the pool has been awesome over the last few days, obviously everybody knows I love being down there, so it's been fun watching some of the different changes down there, and the kids are definitely loving the concession stand. I think they found every quarter in their
Yes.
house at this point, so it's been fun watching some of the kids.
The parents don't like it so much, but
No.
the kids do.
Well, some of the parents have said that it's like when they were a kid, though, so
Yeah.
you have that aspect of it too. So it's been a lot of fun being down there and watching a lot of the changes go on, so, and I think John and them have all kind of, seen how wonderful some of the changes can be, except for when the internet went down, so,
Yes.
for the system, so. That was not as much fun, but, they got through it. Anybody have any questions for community?
I have a comment.
Go
I think
for
you
it.
guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great. That's gonna stay here, I would assume through tomorrow, maybe take it back down to the
Yeah.
pool for Saturday and Sunday, it's not
Correct.
supposed to rain. So that's the plan, so if anybody's watching and they want handprints, 9 to 3 tomorrow, and then again Saturday, noon until maybe 4-ish.
Right.
Both Saturday and Sunday, so stop down, put your handprint on it. We're planning on bringing Kimber in tomorrow to get hers
Oh, good.
put on there, so.
Good.
Yes, I know, so we'll get everybody in there, I don't know if Chief's done it yet, so I know Lieutenant did it today, so we'll see which officers have done it and which officers haven't, so. Okay, let's move on to Councilperson McNamara, safety.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council community. I have nothing at the time to contribute besides the contents of Chief's report, obviously. We do need to schedule a safety meeting, though. I've gotten some great ideas from some officers I've been, speaking with throughout the last month. And we just need to get a meeting scheduled. We do one about every month and a half or two, and it's coming up on that time, so.
And the street striping, right? The stops, was that
That's-
safety
that's-
or is that streets, right?
Yes, that was completed yesterday.
Yeah, so it looks
yeah.
good, I noticed it.
Yep, that was
Even-
completed yesterday, so if anybody has any questions, problems, concerns, let me know about that, but, it's done. Though, and this isn't really safety, I guess it could be anywhere, it could have been the streets. The potholes, he responded back, we are expecting those to be done next week. So they've just had a couple delays and issues, but, the next thing to be done is the potholes down in that area, all throughout the whole village, so, does anybody have any questions for Councilperson McNamara? All right, Councilperson Bruger, legislation.
All right, our next legislative committee meeting is scheduled for the 23rd at 6 o'clock here at the community center. Our 2 or 3 big things we're going to be looking at. One, of course, Ohio adopted a new Ohio revised code covering fireworks that cover every municipality in Ohio unless said municipality opts out of it. At this point, we are not planning to opt out of it. But Chief Delp did request that if we're gonna have it, it had to be something enforceable, that it's something we should add to our code. And we're just probably gonna put the language from the state there. I don't see any need to change it, and if someone has a need or wants to bring it up, show up at the meeting. The other 2 things sort of on legislative horizon, one got pulled by Councilperson McNamara, which is looking at the leash laws. He said he wanted to talk about that in safety, right, at the work session?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And the other is dog waste. We need to get done, so that's sort of what the committee has and is looking at. And by dog waste, I mean, of course, obviously picking up after your dog if you're out on a walk.
I appreciated the way the newsletter put it. Something about when your dog does number 2 or something. It was pretty cute. I don't know who wrote that, but it was cute.
Your dog's number 2, you know what to do.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Works.
I don't want it on my shoe.
We should have a contest. That's good, I like that.
All right, next is my report. I've kind of hit a lot of this already. Again, if you witness somebody working on a construction project, please leave them alone and let them do their job. If you have a question, reach out to me. My email is mayor@minervapark.org. Ask me any questions. All of the council members as well, they know what's going on. And if we don't have an answer, we'd be more than happy to reach out. We've had 3 small projects going on, and every single one of them we've seemed to have some glitches with constant interruption. So please refrain from getting involved in a construction project. And it's also for your safety. I mean, there's a lot of really large equipment in there, so please, 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 let them do their job.
Can I add?
There was a dip in Maplewood, we've actually sent a contractor out there to review that, there is absolutely no problem, other than there is a dip in Maplewood. So there is no collapsing anything of any sort. We do not have the official report back. A resident brought me the information, I haven't actually got it back from the contractor yet. So, we'll have that looked at once we start with the sewer project, but at this point in time, it's just a dip in the road. The stop bars have been painted, we all know that, potholes are getting filled next week. We are still working with Mike on the estimate for the plan for lake dredging, so once we get all of that, we'll be bringing that to council to get moving on the lake rehabilitation project. I don't know if that's a good word to use, but that's what we're gonna use. So we are working on that. We have been talking about the, working still on the amphitheater, we've been talking about the shelter over in the Maplewood area, we've been talking about other options over by the pool. lots and lots and lots of really good ideas, so I think, we're all just gonna kind of sit down and say, okay, where are we at, what do we wanna do? What do we really wanna move forward with, because again, this week, some of these committees have really been putting their heads together and thinking of some options. I have some seasonal workers working on the flower beds in the new section, as well as over in this particular area. So if you'll see them out, again, stay high, whatever, but there's a couple, I'm gonna call them teenagers over there that are working on these projects. We're gonna be using some of the lifeguard employees as well to get some of these done. So hopefully those will get done here in the next week or so. So that's coming. Anybody has any questions, again, feel free, email me, mayor@minervapark.org, and I'd be more than happy to answer some questions. Anybody have any questions for me?
I don't have any, I have a comment.
Go
I
for
would
it.
like to add with the safety of the construction sites for residents to please avoid walking that area after the contractors are done, because that's also really unsafe. It makes me really nervous as a physician, just in general. Please don't do that. Okay.
Yes. This is, these are large, it's large equipment, people just need to stay back away from, for their safety and so I don't get that phone call. Citizen comments. Do you have anybody that wants to make citizen
Yep, I
comments?
think, Mr. Scovia, am I saying that right?
Segovia.
Sokovia, sorry.
Howard Segovia, 3090 Minerva Lake Road. I saw the video for the council work session this past Saturday. And one of the council members was trying to bring up concerns that they had about I'll call it less than polite behavior by the village planner. And they constantly got interrupted, weren't really able to just verbalize or bring that concern without multiple interruptions. And I don't understand, I brought up the similar concerns regarding the village planner at more than one council meetings last year, but I guess that kind of behavior is gonna be allowed or something, I don't know. But, the moderator didn't really kind of step in to do anything, but was more disappointed is nobody else really stepped in. You're talking about diversity week or month or something, and here, this person was just like left to hang out there being talked to like this and interrupted and not being able to voice their things by a non-council member at a council work session. And that was just really disappointing that nobody else really spoke up about it. And so hopefully next time that won't be allowed to happen. I have one other thing. The comments I made last year, I brought up about there's 4 signs when you're going south on Farview, just north of Minerva Lake Road. And you can't really see any of those signs until you're right on top of them when you're traveling south. I brought this up last year once or twice, maybe more, I don't know. I was told it was going to be looked into, and I don't know, maybe they couldn't find the signs.
What signs?
Well, we actually had somebody go out there, are you talking about the limbs in the way? Because the limbs were cut back last year. Or what's the issue with the sign?
You can't see the signs.
Okay, you can't see them because they're being blocked or they're away from the street too far, like what?
Because they're being blocked by the trees.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, they were in fact cut last year at one point.
If I may, so
Go ahead.
there is a density of trees and signs are in between, and it's one of those things to where it's at an odd stage. First of all, some of those trees may go away because of the
Right.
construction, but because of the odd stage of the tree growth, I'm hoping the trees grow a bit this year and they're trimmed up, because that's gonna disappear as the trees get taller. That's just unfortunate
Right.
fact of the trees are a certain height when they put them in, they bush out. You can only trim them so much and
Right.
not damage the tree life, so that will go away in a year or two.
Right, yes, we did send our maintenance person out, and I do know for a fact some of them were trimmed last year. I was more concerned coming out of, that I already have this on my list, and that's why I was asking what the issue is. When you come out of the school, and maybe it's different heights, but I was right up to the stop sign before I could really see that stop sign. Did anybody else notice that today? Yeah, for me, maybe it's just the height of my car, but I had a hard time seeing the stop sign until I was right up on it. And that was coming out of the school at Minerva Lake and Farview.
Can we review a couple other signs? Because I feel like even on Jordan, that sign that says
What
like,
you mentioned is what I'm talking about, is you
Yeah.
can't see them when you're driving, I'm assuming. Now, I was just out there walking, you can't really see them until
Right.
you.
So that is one of them that you're talking about, because I noticed that today.
there's 4 signs, you can't see any of them. I mean, the important one is the stop sign.
Yeah, that's the one I noticed today.
I mean, the best thing is I'm glad they've got the red stripes going down finally. I mean, I brought that up about how many times before about that should be done. But, you know, you can't really see a lot of that on top of it. And of course, with the varying, you know, size of where people sit when they're in it,
Right.
you know, that's gonna make it harder. I'm not sure how much the widening's gonna affect or not affect that. You know, and that's just when you're looking down there without anything in front of you, the visibility is not that great.
No.
So if you've got something in front of you, especially if it's
Right.
a school bus, you know, it's certainly gonna be less
Yeah.
great.
I noticed the one today, so
Yeah.
he will be out there this week, well, between tomorrow and Monday.
Well,
I'm
there's
wondering what happened to, I mean, I'm assuming the other trees there in front of Hawthorne were taken out because of the widening.
That would be my guess, but
yeah,
that's, some of that's Westerville's,
jurisdiction.
yeah, stuff.
The only other thing I would say is if anybody else mentions it or sees any other signs anywhere else, like if we're gonna take a look, let us know so we can take a look at the other ones. Like, I feel like the one that says like no outlet right on Jordan is like
Covered.
yeah, you can't see that one either. So if anybody else has any suggestions, we're definitely open to those suggestions, so we could just take care of as many as we can in one time and just knock it out, be done.
Maybe a great way would be to report that to the streets committee, because
Yep.
that feels like that's a
That's me.
street committee issue. So
Yep. It
send
costs-
your enumerated list to one council person cost.
Yep.
Alright, moving along, do any of our other guests in the audience wish to address council on any matter? Now is the time. Step up to the podium, give us your name and your address, and rules of council allow you 5 minutes to say what you will.
My name is Susan Flanagan. I live at 3041 Mineral Lake Road. Lived here about 8 years. And I'm guessing for the last 20 years or so, there's been discussions about vacating some property over to the lot that we have our own. My husband Robert Moore and I. And I know that 8 years ago, I think I came, perhaps Councilperson Wolf was the only one who was here at that time. So I'm just going to give you a brief. We moved into this house. Lynn was the mayor back then. She came out to the house and visited with us. We looked around at the lot. We talked about vacating the property at that point. So that again was 8 years ago. And then I came before council again. Councilperson Wolf is the one who knows about this. But basically, to talk about when the MI homes went up, the idea of a path going through that area. And we were very concerned about that because that's right next to our lot. We've been a lot of traffic and all of that. So I have really 2 areas. One is process. I don't understand. 2 years ago, we wrote a letter and asked about vacating that property. Again, something, didn't get anything back. Didn't hear anything about it. My husband has a 97-year-old mom, I have a 94-year-old mom. We're out of town a lot. We're the sandwich, generation. We're not here a lot. Didn't know anything about the possible vacating of this property until right before I talked to you, Tiffany. When was that at the opening of the pool, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we never got a letter. We never got. I mean, are we supposed to watch every council meeting to see if our names are on it? It really, to me, seems like somebody dropped the ball there. And I'm concerned about that, again, the process. I think anybody whose name goes on any legislation or anything in this body should get a letter, registered letter, really, so they can sign for it to say, we understand this is happening and it's part of, this is a big deal for us. This is not just a little, whatever. So anyway, I asked about that. The other is, I'd like to know who drew this.
Give me an answer.
I'm not sure what she's showing.
I think
Are you
she
talking
needs
about
to serve,
this?
what is that?
Oh, that's the map from the
That's
auditor.
the initial map from the auditor, I can't see it from here, but I suspect what
This is the map that's in the council packet materials showing the proposed vacation.
Oh, that's the surveyor's work. So what happens is your neighbors, the FIT-offs, are the ones that instigated the request. So under Ohio law, there's the ability for municipalities to vacate right-of-way. And the FIT-offs had that work done in order to start the process to make the request in front of council.
Okay, so they're the ones, and that's why you didn't contact us, even though you were vacating to us,
Correct.
and only went with what the FIT-offs want.
No, there's requirements under the law as to how that works. They contacted us and said, hey, we've been talking about this a while, what is the process? I told them, this village doesn't do this very often, right? So in other municipalities, this is a regular piece of business. You work in multiples, they have vacation of right-of-ways in multiple municipalities, much larger than this one. So this was the first one since I was here, so I simply said, look, to begin the process, you need to have a professional surveyor, talk to us, and you're supposed to vacate it roughly about midpoint. The adjoining property owners under the law get some right-of-way back, it gets vacated back. We're also a party to that because we have reserve, which is not right-of-way, so a separate piece of ground is our reserve. And so that's been presented to council as part of the process, and it's up to the council whether they choose to do that this time or not.
So think of this, any of you live next door to somebody, and they say we're gonna vacate, but for our neighbors, they're gonna get 0.186 portion of that land, but you will get 0.068.
Yes, there's a reason for that. It's because you get a smaller share because of where you're located and how much frontage you have and then what the village is keeping. So that's the reason. So we give back what we can. It's a free give essentially.
So it's a free give, but it's unequal.
It's based on what we can't give you right away that you're not directly adjacent to.
We're not asking for that.
I know, that's how it works.
Yeah, but we're talking about what was adjacent for us. See, this is something that we should have
Can't
been
give
able
you-
to address.
Ma'am, we can't give you private property, which is the rest of the reserve. We can't give that to you. We can only give back per law the right of way.
Okay.
If you want to address it.
I don't have to
Yeah.
survey, I didn't draw the survey, the surveyor knows how easements and right of way work. And I won't dispute that if you weren't heard on this, but
This is reserve, that's just dumb, it's just a question of getting reserve.
if the issue is why you're not getting part of the reserve, it's that the village can't give away that.
I think to answer the question that maybe I think I'm hearing that isn't being asked is, are each of the constituent parties getting the maximum that is allowed to them by the law?
So the answer to that is technically no, because we're not giving all the right of way up.
Okay, yeah, so but the village is holding some as a constituent, as one of the three
Correct.
abutting property holders. So are each of those three abutting property holders getting the maximum that the law allows?
Correct, in this case.
There you go. So the formula for which that space is allocated per the terms or per state law. That's how those numbers came.
Okay, so if I went to a real estate lawyer and said, this is what I'm being told, can you check it? Do you think that lawyer would say that?
I would imagine that is entirely your right.
So I guess what I would ask for them is at least a postponement so that we can get a look at this and know what's going on. And it just seems to vote on it at this point when we've had a week's notice, we've had no information from the planner, not even a contact call to leave them. By the way, this is going to come up and it's going to affect you greatly, and nothing. It seems to me that we should at least have a chance to look into it a little bit more.
I 100% with that, I agree 100%. You have to be very frustrated. Anybody that would have their home, I agree 100%, and these are all things that could have been discussed if you would have got that proper notification.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
So just to clarify, nobody notified you?
No,
Just to
because-
clarify, the FIT-offs didn't notify you that this was happening and they named you?
Nobody.
Okay.
No, and Lisa is on the planning committee, the
Okay.
person who's set all this in motion. So I oftentimes would ask her, so what's going on, what's going on? So she told me a few days before I saw Tiffany, oh, by the way, that is coming up. only because I keep asking her, what's going on with the planning committee or what? Nobody told us anything. It just feels like we've been dismissed. And my feelings are a little hurt. I just let it out there, but my husband's a little more rational than I, so he may want to say something else.
Oh, I just have a couple of comments. and
Well, are you seating the rest? You have I did my best to stop during question and answer period. You have 50
Although
more
he has-
seconds. You have, your husband has his own 5 minutes, so, but
Oh, no, as long as he's got his minutes. I
Yeah,
thought we
he's,
were-
yeah, he's got his whole 5 minutes still.
I would like to go ahead and thank you very much for your comments. Just remind people that this isn't really intended as a question or answer period. You have 5 minutes to speak your piece. I remind my fellow people at the table that this isn't really an open discussion. This is for people to make their comments.
Yes, Robert Moore, 3041 Minerva Lake Road, husband of Susan Flanagan. I want to say thank you for getting, Mayor, for getting the poison ivy spray on Farview. There may be a few little pieces they might want to check it again.
Okay.
Thanks for that quick response, and thank everyone for your service on the council. I know it's a lot of work. You made a distinction for me that I did not understand as we were trying to figure out what was going on in the idea of reserve. I've heard the term reserve mentioned in the past in the area of the new part of the subdivision between some of the backs of the houses. So my question in that regard, where someone said, Wolf said that two people said that reserve cannot be vacated. Maybe you don't own that. So my question would be on the reserve property that diagonals right against our property, and there's a lot of grass and ivy and things that I've been maintaining for 8 years. What can or does the council intend, or anyone who owns that reserve, intend to do with that reserve property? All the way down to where the drainage channel under the road starts.
So there are two reserves, if I may. Reserve A comes up against you, I believe, at that point. And that's where a lot of the green grass is, but that's the village's private property. So it's public property, but we own it in fee simple.
Yep.
So right-of-way is very distinctively different than reserve. So that is platted right-of-way. The state law dictates how that's to be divided to adjacent owners. When we have private property, it's public, but again, we own it fee simple, we would have to auction that off to the highest bidder. Okay, we can't just give it to somebody. We run into some ethics issues, I think, if nothing else.
I mean, the revised code requires that village physical property, real property, must be auctioned off. And a reserve meets that definition. A right-of-way does not, because a right-of-way, in essence, is an easement to use the land above the physical property. That's like the simplest way to describe it.
And then, so who would initiate an auction on that property? Could we
Well, the council would have
request
to,
that property?
the council would have to choose to auction off its own private property in that sense.
Right.
You can always request.
And may I ask, has the council given any consideration to the status of that stretch of reserve?
I would like to, again, we've cut other people off for coming to ask questions.
Sure.
This isn't what this time is meant for. So if you have a statement to make, a purpose to state, that's what this time is for. This isn't question and answer. Right, so that's
To
just.
whom might I pose questions?
You
in
can,
a-
the simplest is, if you'd like, I will gladly stick around after the meeting and we can have a conversation. Or the best way is also email. You can email all of council as well as the mayor. Those emails are all public record, anybody can see them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your.
You do still have, again, I stopped for questions and answers because I did feel like Some of it was, reasonable, so you still have 3 minutes on your time if you have anything else you'd like to say.
Thank you, that's good.
Okay?
Okay.
I hear your comments.
I kind of wanted to say something, and I don't know if I'm gonna step on some toes or anything, so if I say something, I just kind of want to go over this a little bit.
Yeah.
This is giving people property, okay? This is giving what the village is willing to give to people. This is not taking anything, this is not doing anything. There was not in my opinion, a need to make sure that people know they're being given something. We aren't willing at this point in time to give what we're keeping away. That is not what we're discussing. If people want to try to get this particular section of land that we have kept, that's another topic. So I think we're talking about two different things here. What is on the table is this. This has been requested in the past that they get some of this land. Lisa had come to us also and asked that she get, and the reason, if you look at the map, obviously, I know it's hard to see, but if you look at the map, there's a reason for the portions that they're getting versus this. If they want to come to council and continue to get more land, that is something that they can do, they can try. But I just want to remind people that what we are here for is, the topic of not being notified is we're giving you something. We're not trying to take it, there's no money being changed. And I know that there is the want of potentially more. Is that not accurate? And I know we probably shouldn't be going. So anyways, that's the point of this. I just want to remind everybody that we are here because we have been requested several times to vacate some of this property. And it is council's decision if they want to even vacate any of the property is why we are sitting here. So I'm gonna recommend that we move forward in whatever you got, the vote of some sort. So whether, again, you guys decide to table it, whether or not you guys decide you wanna vacate any, none, or just table it for a while until everybody decides, that's on you guys. But I just kinda wanted to remind everybody of what we are trying to do. The village is not giving, at this point in time, any of the reserve. Is that accurate?
We're not auctioning off the reserve.
We're not auctioning off,
We
we're not,
We have
yes.
to entertain multiple parties for that, it's right of way only,
Correct.
based on the state law, that request was made. We attempted to be very fair in how it was divvied up when we talked, we didn't have to do any of that. We wanted to maximize what was given to but we have to give it to adjacent property owners. We can't just say, hey, you're gonna get more than what,
Right.
you can under, under the guidance, essentially.
And again, this request was brought to us by one of the residents. So we could have just done that and moved forward and not touched, I guess that would have been the other thing. We could have just done the one. So I just kinda wanna go over that a little bit. I don't wanna step on toes, I don't wanna offend anybody, but I do wanna remind everybody what we're here for.
Yeah, I don't think it's, you're stepping on toes or being offensive. I think communication should always be transparent, and resident asking for a change in their land is the very least we could do. If anybody's toes are being stepped on, it's you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we good? Back to you.
All right, we're gonna go to legislation, but unless anyone on council objects, I'm gonna ask for a minute and a half to run around the corner there real quick. Because,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna time you.
It is
Long meeting.
just a job half bio break.
well, we have a very short break between,
Oh, yeah.
the variance and the thing, I used to get more water instead of.
Because there are separate ordinances, so we could, vote on request in the Lisa side, which is, we just need to make sure that we're doing the right.
Right, that makes sense.
Right, and vote on that.
That's you guys.
Table or not, my sentiment doesn't change, right?
This is exactly, I wanna open that. You wanna open that.
Unless it's less.
Eric, can I borrow you for 2 seconds?
Yes, sir.
We should have, yeah, we should have 8 PM intermission, just, you know, Mark, you just created an 8 PM intermission.
No, that was, oh, yeah, this.
But I will.
This is, this
Yep.
Look, I couldn't get your dog to do that today.
She, I don't know, I think she was scared of keeping dogs. Yeah, she wanted to play with the kids and throw rocks at them, it's fine, don't worry about it, she's good. Oh, darn.
That's all I. The top one is Stephen Mason.
I have to go back to some legislation to find out what's going to be passed. There may not be authorization for that.
it doesn't alter what the
Only for them to go do their own research on it.
Yes.
You know, we'll still say that, but yeah, at least they get to feel good.
Okay.
But that'll be in the discussion.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Apparently I started a trend there. Okay, moving on to our legislation. We have a third reading of ordinance 10, 2022. An ordinance to vacate an unused right-of-way, and that is a typo in the packet, so that will need to be fixed, and I'm saying that out loud just so Mark hears it when she does the minutes. Held by the Village of Minerva Park over parcel number 113001040. Third reading, any discussion?
Alright, so for clarity, this is the one regarding, not the Flanagan Moore residence, but the Tidoff, this is the one that is about vacating a portion of the right-of-way to the Tidoffs.
Is it Tidoff or Tidoff?
I always said Tidoff, but I could be wrong. I'm sure they can yell at me if they want.
Okay. I said it the other way.
Alright?
All right, well, it is the third meeting, unless anyone has any other action on it, I will move passage
As a minute.
as,
We're looking at this, I wanna make sure I would recommend we table this. I wanna take another look at it with the surveyor, cause only for one reason, I don't want to give away. I want to make sure it's correct, because we very clearly have an issue with it, so I think we should.
There's a small technicality potentially in that we also have to vacate right away back to ourselves. And so I think that actually is, that was missing on the surveyor's note here.
Right.
So because we have to vacate back to our reserve. So I think we're
Right.
missing that little technicality.
Right,
Well-
so rather than piecemeal it,
Let's just,
I'm gonna say, Jesse, you came in right in time, because despite this group's normal zeal, that was moved but not seconded yet.
beautiful.
So, see no seconds,
No seconds.
I'm gonna move at the, advice of village council that we table this, ordinance 10/2022 for the time being.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote.
We do it all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
All right, it is tabled. On to, excuse me, ordinance 11/2022, an ordinance to vacate an unused right-of-way held by the Village of Minerva Park over parcel number 113-001040 and 113-001-043. And again, the typo of easement versus right-of-way is in that title. As I'm sure that falls into the same umbrella there, I am just going to move that we table that as well.
Second, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, those two have been tabled. Do we expect to see those back on in 2 weeks, or do you want to wait until after a Saturday work session? Do you want to table it for?
For a while.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about this.
Yeah,
So we'll see it again in July.
perfect.
Okay.
All right, ordinance 13-2022, an ordinance to establish a policy relating to investment of public monies and declaring an emergency. Also with a request to waive the second and third readings. This was what was discussed earlier by Mr. Wilczek about being able to invest some things in some government bonds that are currently at a higher than has been seen in a while interest rate. Out of respect for the request, I will first make a motion to waive readings.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any debate?
I have one question actually for Mr. Wilczek. Just back of the envelope estimate, what's the loss in dollars if we don't expedite it? So if we take 3 readings and don't pass as an emergency, you're looking at 75 days.
Yes.
So what's back of the envelope best estimate loss in dollars?
Difference between what Star Ohio has at 0.79% versus 2.8% with the Treasury.
Sure. So those are annual numbers though, right? That's an annualized rate.
And
It will be several thousands of dollars.
That's all I needed.
And you did mention that the one rate you mentioned that was, I believe, a 0.78, you said was just for the month of May. The other one though, is that just the current rate for federal bonds and is not looked to change anytime soon? Or, I mean, but not necessarily looking to be like, hey, this was a temporary thing.
The 2.81% on a 2-year Treasury note was as of today. I anticipate that rate to increase as the feds increase the interest rate. They're looking at either 2 or 3 0.5% increases. So how much will the Treasury security go up? I can't say, but it will go up.
So maybe even going slower wouldn't be bad to see if we can get another 0.5% rate hike.
Part of what we will look at when we do this is the anticipated rates down the road. We're not going to invest long-term and lose out on the higher rates.
Gotcha. And I will just say, and it might end up being about the snarkiest as anyone's ever heard me, I have no intention to vote to waive readings on this. We did not get this packet or this information until less than 30 hours before this meeting. And that is just not enough time, in my opinion, for us to have it and then be able to say, well, we don't need to do any readings, let's just make it happen. Those are my opinions on it. I'm not obviously forcing them on anyone else, but I think we have time on this. Perhaps, waiving a 3rd reading maybe, passing it as emergencies makes sense to me. So once you decided to do this, you can actually have your fiscal officer doing things and not waiting. But yeah, those are my 2 cents on this.
There you go. Anybody else have anything to say about waiving these readings?
How much time do we have
To do what?
just to figure this out? Like, is this something that
Well,
is
right,
gonna
well, the question
expire?
in front of us right now is waive readings today or don't. And if 5 of us say waive readings, then we move for passage.
I'm kind of
If we don't, then it'll be in front of us for a second reading in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It might cost us $1,000 or $2, but so be it for the sake of
transparency.
you know.
Well, for the sake
I don't
of,
know.
we didn't get it to you in time, can you pass it as an emergency? And I know that's not the whole, that's not all of it, as I said, it was gonna be the snarkiest you guys ever heard me.
I think you have a good point.
That's a very good point.
Alright, I think it's ready for the roll call.
Okay. Council President Wolf,
Aye.
Councilperson Camera,
Aye.
Councilperson Cost,
Wait, are we waiving readings?
This is,
Yes.
this is the vote to waive readings.
I'm with Bruger here, nay.
Councilperson McNamara,
Abstain.
Councilperson Tressa,
Nay.
Yeah.
okay, Councilperson Bruger,
It would be silly if I didn't vote no now, although it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
is my vote.
So it's been read,
It has been, so, and all that did is meant it's been read.
Right.
First reading's done, we don't have to vote on passage on account of, we're not waiving readings currently. That does not stop us from waiving the third reading in 2 weeks if we'd like.
Or even the, right.
Second reading.
So if people
Or,
have
yeah.
questions on this or concerns, you know, now would be the, you know, the time to email Jeffrey to get answers so that we can look at this again.
okay?
Okay. Moving on to ordinance 18/2022, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for the current expense of the village of Minerva Park for the year 2022. Again, this is being requested that we pass on the first rule, the first reading. Now, that is some of this what you were saying because as you were going through the finances, you were finding things and having to adjust them?
That's correct.
See, I think that's a great reason to waive readings. Look, we just found about it now and we wanted to get it done in a hurry. So I'm gonna motion that we waive the second and third reading of this and put it up for debate.
Well, you moved to waive readings? and
Yeah,
I
sorry, I
second-
moved to waive readings and now we'll put it up to debate.
And I
That's been
second.
seconded.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anybody have anything to say about waiving readings regarding this appropriations? No? Roll that call.
all right, Councilperson Cost,
Aye.
Councilperson Tressa,
Aye.
Councilperson Camera,
Aye.
Councilperson Wolf,
Aye.
President Wolf, sorry, Councilperson Bruger,
Aye.
and Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, having waived the second and third readings, I move approval of ordinance 18/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded, I think we should probably get our finances in good working order. I know, and for some of the people out there who might be like, there seems to be a lot of craziness with finances over the past few years. Do remember Mr. Wilczek is our third person doing the job in 2 years. And anytime you switch over in different systems and different things, and he's only been on job for 6-8 weeks now.
it's actually 4.
Okay, 4. So, you know, if it seems like, wow, is the village hiring, no, there's just, you know, things get things and you get a new person in and he's going through and combing through it and making sure it's all good.
Okay, are we good?
We're good.
I think we're good.
Did he do?
Yep.
Did he move? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
Councilperson Bruger,
Aye.
Council President Wolf,
Aye.
Councilperson Camera,
Aye.
Councilperson Tressa,
Aye.
Councilperson Cost.
Aye.
Okay, pass, all right. Now the confusing one for me. Resolution 17/2022. A resolution requesting the county treasurer to provide advance payment of taxes and other sources payable to the village as they become available. With again, a intent to waive the second and third readings and pass tonight.
This is good.
Um,
No, you skipped
Skip
one.
one? Yeah, 14.
did I?
Skip
17.
14.
There's a resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I did skip one. I cracked off the wrong one. Let me see if I have that one here. Yeah, because sometimes the titles are different. I don't know that I skipped one or if I just don't have that one.
That would be the case.
Yes, I don't think I do. Okay, that's, unless it's under here somewhere.
It's the levy renewal one.
Yep, the levy renewal, which is ordinance, resolution 2022-14. I'll read it off there because that usually has the better title. A resolution submitting the question of a renewal levy for the purpose of providing the current expenses of the general fund of the Village of Minerva Park to the Franklin County Board of Elections. And it is a third reading, because we got this in time. Does this need to be passed as an emergency, or is it not because it's an automatic referendum?
Yeah, it's putting something
On the ballot, which
in
means it
itself
is a referendum. Awesome, so, there you go, I move that we pass it and get that on the ballot.
Second.
That, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do this, that renewal levy, not a new levy.
Renewal is important.
Motioned and seconded, let's take our vote.
Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Councilperson Cameron.
Aye.
Councilperson Tresvant.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Councilperson Cost.
Aye.
And Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
Alright.
Yep, I had two 18s and no 14, that's the problem.
Okay.
Okay, moving on then back to resolution 17, 2022. A resolution requesting the treasurer to provide advance payment of taxes and other sources payable to the village as they become available. Mr. Wilczek, you did say, basically this is, instead of them holding our money and giving it to us, do they give it to us once a year, twice a year now?
Settlements occur twice a year.
We wanna get
In
it-
this case, we'll get a weekly advance until the settlement is finalized sometime late July or August.
Now, when you say weekly advance, is there a chance that they would give us too much and at the end of it, they'd say, sorry, we thought you were gonna get this much, but you only get this
There are
much?
limitations as to how much they can advance.
Okay, so it's not even, it's, we think you're gonna get $1,000, here's 700 of it just in case.
Is there any
Something like that,
fee-
yes. Right.
Is there any kind of fee or otherwise charge for this process?
Yeah, they're gonna charge us for the staff's
Convenience
work
fee,
over
so to
there.
speak. Okay.
Okay, well, and this is also being requested as, suspending the rules and pass on the first reading. This one, I don't really, I'm gonna move that we, waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? As I say, for this one, it just seems getting what sounds like good business of the village and getting it done in a timely fashion. And I will move for passage then. We have to, what?
You have to,
We have to vote on it.
There we go. Okay, Councilperson Cameron.
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
Councilperson Cost.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Councilperson Tresvant.
Aye.
All right, and now I can motion to pass it.
Second.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Motioned and seconded by Mr. Camera.
Okay.
Any debate on it?
Councilperson Cost.
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara. Councilperson Cameron.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Councilperson Tresvant.
Aye.
And Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Alright.
Okay. And continuing our breakneck legislative speed, Resolution 18, 2022, a resolution adjusting the fees as written in Resolution 2022-07 for membership fees for the Minerva Park Pool for the 2022 summer season and declare an emergency. The fees may be collected appropriately and of course to waive readings.
I can speak to it if you'd like.
I was just about to ask you to see what the changes are and the rationale.
I reached out to Jesse and did not follow exactly what Jesse wanted because there was a lot more to be done than I actually had thought about because we have so many different memberships, so that's why we did just kind of do, I didn't ignore you, but then I realized this would be a mess if I didn't. Okay, so Jason and I spent a lot of time down at the pool, Jason more so in collecting of funds. And we found that there were way more people that wanted memberships for families of 7, 8, and 9. And when we started getting to 7 and 8, as you could see, they kind of dropped from only going up $20 a person to $70. So Jason had asked if I could present this legislation, and I'm not in disagreement with him, so we put it together, and now we're putting it in front of you guys. So what we are asking for is for larger family members to have the same benefit of some of the smaller ones going up, just not going up significantly. Our old legislation stopped at 6, so anybody that had more than 6 people in their household, they were going up roughly $70, $80 per person over top of 6. So we fixed that to keep in the trend of 20-20-20 in most places. And that's all we did. There's nothing different. It's basically to help out our residents and non-residents that would like to purchase pool memberships.
The one I got in, oh, never mind, I'll shut up, I'm good now.
Now, once we did get past 9, we did, again, put it back, additional person and babysitter is $70. As just an FYI, because I don't know how high we could go without going to 10 more pieces of paper. And again, I don't think we really had any requests for over 9.
And I was gonna say, just for the record, one of the people asked if we would do $10. The community committee is recommending the 20, just to keep in line with it, so.
So that's what this is for, in a nutshell.
Okay, so it used to be well, it used to just be $70, as opposed to, it looks like after 4 people, it's $20 an extra person.
And the
An
reason
extra
obviously.
family member, I
yeah.
should say.
And the reason for the emergency and waiving the readings is
It's
obviously
obvious.
75 days from now, the pool will be closed.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, that made look perfect obvious. I really would have liked to see an after 5 for 5 on that, but I think it's too late to do that. There is no after 5 for after 5.
No, we just have the weekend and evening passes this
Yeah.
year.
And I'll have to make sure I show up to meetings next year and fight for that. And I didn't this year, so it's no one's fault but my own. Okay, all of that makes sense to me. I'm gonna move to waive readings.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Any discussion?
Sounds like we're being more reasonable.
Councilperson Berger,
Aye.
Council President Wolf,
Aye.
Councilperson Camera,
Aye.
Councilperson Cost,
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
and Councilperson Trustler.
Aye.
Okay, having waived readings, motion for passage.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this last part? Okay, Councilperson McNamara,
Oh, you just typed.
Councilperson Trustler,
Aye.
Councilperson Cost,
Aye.
Councilperson Camera,
Aye.
Councilperson Berger,
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Done. We will get those adjusted tomorrow on the website and down at the pool. Okay, old business. I think we're good.
You were looking at me.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
like,
Did
I
we
next?
do both on that? Did we both waive readings?
Yes.
Pass? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I flew past it. Did we do it all?
Yes.
very tired.
Yeah,
We did.
Okay. Confuse me.
I'm just making sure. I zoned out for a second.
So did I, apparently. Okay, any old business for anybody? Anybody with any new business?
A new business. I think it'll
Just
be
teasing.
a quick general overview. I
Yes.
think it's important to quickly go over some general protocols when we have staff and or officer complaints. And I think it's important to note that the first stop for any of these complaints is with the supervisors themselves. This is, we have a small village. There's just 2 major directors. One is the mayor for administrative staff. The other is the chief for all the officers. So at that point, supervisors can choose to do whatever investigation is necessary. But we don't want to have our unsubstantiated rumors and attacks that are falsehoods that are brought into the public eye, because those can lead to loss of reputation, to damages monetarily and professionally, which unfortunately can lead to slander against particular individuals if that something is so severe. But depending on the severity of potential complaints or accusations, your law firm could also be involved. They have an HR counsel, and as they have done in the past, they can lead investigations. Counsel additionally, upon the findings, counsel can go into an executive session to discuss personnel issues. And the individual involved in those can also request that the discussion should remain public for various reasons. Especially if falsehoods are being stated openly, there may be a need to have those on the public record so that the individual can avail themselves of the legal system against those who are making falsehoods. Essentially, it's not appropriate to air unsubstantiated accusations during any public meetings, especially when it's the first time. And falsehoods can damage professional reputations, mean loss of income, et cetera, et cetera. So generally, we want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and any investigation needs to follow through the steps of the particular directors or supervisors for the village. And that's all I have.
Can I ask some clarification what that was all even about?
I
think it's-
Am I
I think we-
lost?
No, I'll answer it
I
pretty
just need some
quickly.
clarification.
No, I'll answer it pretty quickly, and I think that this conversation probably should end in this, at the end of this right now, for those particular stated facts. Saturday, there was, some accusations from, this or that. A resident just brought it to attention, this is something that somebody saw on the video. It should either go to myself first before we're airing things in a public meeting. So just everybody should be cautious and courteous to village staff, council, and it goes every different direction. So, Yeah. As far as whether it's, staff, whether it's council, I would love for people to come to me and actually sit down, maybe not just in a passing, come in, sit down and have a conversation. As he stated, we can go into executive session, we can do a lot of different things. But this is something that we should probably keep, accusations and things out of, some of the public meetings. And I'm gonna say something that I know I really shouldn't say, but just be.
I love when you start.
No, I don't mean it like that. I think when somebody doesn't agree with somebody, the first reaction is sometimes, that they weren't being nice. And I have heard that so many times sitting here in the last 2 years, and that's not always the case, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. So there are a difference of opinions with certain things, so I think we owe it to each other to be respectful in meetings, and that goes in every direction. And I think we can all, learn a little bit by listening a little bit more, and that's where we're gonna end that conversation. And I know that there probably it may go further than that, if we do need to go in executive session, but I am in total agreement it doesn't belong in a public meeting, as best as possible. And any more new business? No. There we go.
Second.
No, I
You
want it.
second.
No,
No,
he
no
keeps
second.
sniping me. Dang it.
You get the
He's like
third.
the sniper, man. Can I get 1 second once in a while?
I
Did you
paused.
want to talk, like in the meeting or?
No, she just wanted to be the one who
No, I
on
wanna be
record
the
who seconded.
This
we-
is what I live for.
Turn off the recorders.
Did we vote on that?
No. Did we?
Did we just vote to say yes?
Yeah, aye, whatever.
Aye.
If you wanna talk, we can